So I have two companies. The first one is my entertainment business, which I've had now for close to 20 years, I think, which is a management and production company business. Prior to that, I was an agent at Don Buchwald and Associates, who is most notably Howard Stern's agent, and I ran the lit division for Don Buchwald on the East Coast and West Coast for 5 years. And prior to that, I had my own agency for 5 years with some partners. I guess our biggest client at that point was my partner's representative, Alicia Silverstone, right before Clueless came out, which was an interesting ride along the way. And then before that, I worked in production. I worked for all sorts of, on movies and stuff. And I trained at CAA for 3 years. That's sort of the brief background on my entertainment. I grew up in the entertainment business as well, so I'm third generation. And then I've still stuck with it. I have a very small list of clients that work consistently. Most of them I've represented for 20 to 30 years. I'll go into, well, since I'm on that, so I represent mostly directors. Some of my clients are writer-directors. Given the state of the business over the last number of years, most of my clients work in television because that's where the real jobs are, month to month. The movie business takes a real long time to get things made. All those passion projects usually can take up to 10 years to get made, or some never get, a lot of them never get made. That's where most of my clients work. I have clients that, one of my clients directed the pilot for *Halt and Catch Fire*. He also directed the pilot for *Colony*. He's a 2-time Oscar nominee and a 1-time Oscar winner for Best Foreign Language Film called *Secret in Their Eyes*, which I was a producer of the remake of, which starred Julia Roberts, Nicole Kidman, and Chiwetel Ejiofor. Am I repeating stuff that you guys already know? Okay, I couldn't remember. And then another one of my clients is a director-producer. He's been a producer-director on a number of shows over the years, including Grimm and Mayans, which he also directed the pilot for Mayans, which is the Sons of Anarchy spinoff. And then he currently is the exec producer, director on Law & Order SVU. And I have a number of other clients that work in episodic television, doing all sorts of projects from your basic network television, basic cable, to streaming all across the board. So it's a variety of people. It's around a dozen clients. And then I've got a bunch of projects that are in various different stages of development. And as I was saying, the film business takes forever. So, those projects may or may not ever see, the light of day. So it's just, it's a bit of a crapshoot, basically. And then the other business is the hockey business, which started out really as kind of a goof. My partner, who he and I have separate businesses in the entertainment business, brought me a gift made from broken hockey sticks, which is a set of barbecue tools. And my entrepreneurial mind started going, and I said, I think we have a business here. And he thought I was crazy. And I said, no, I think legitimately we have a business here. And that was 8 years ago, and we still do have a business, which, given all the COVID craziness, it's kind of remarkable that we're still in business. And when this COVID thing hit, that was really of the two businesses, that's the one that I thought we were going to have the most difficulty with. And thankfully, here we are heading into, what is our busiest time of year. And we're still afloat, knock on wood. So we work with tons of NHL teams, the NHL Green. We have forged a partnership that I created with NHL Green and three nonprofits, 2 nonprofits based in Florida, that take broken hockey sticks and turn them into oyster habitats and marine habitats. And I also partnered with American Special Hockey Association, which I actually just became a board member of after a year of working with them. And ASHA is an amazing organization that gives people of all sorts of disabilities an opportunity to learn and play the game of hockey, and the impact that it has on the participants is one thing, but what it has on the families is truly remarkable, because they get to have their kids or whatever whatever do something that's outside of just being the sick kid. It's something normal. It's a group activity, and to witness it firsthand, like I did, and hear the stories of these people of what their lives were pre special hockey, and now having that be a huge component of their life. It's incredibly gratifying. The people that I work with on the board are great people, and we're really excited. We just rebranded the organization, and we've brought in some new board members, and it's an exciting time to be involved with American Special Hockey. So our products are sold worldwide. We sell to the NHL teams that we partnered with. We also sell on our own website. We sell on Amazon, and one of our biggest accounts is a company called Uncommon Goods, which is an online business, which is they're a great company to be in business with, and we're really grateful that we found them. And we've repurposed well over 100,000 hockey sticks since we've been in business. In fact, just yesterday, we took in another like 4,000 sticks from a factory in China that have been sitting on these sticks that they overproduced for a bunch of the major manufacturers. So that's sort of an overview of me and the two companies. Like I said, I would love to back and forth with questions and stuff. So if you guys just feel free to ask me anything. As I said, I'm an open book, so there's nothing off limits.
I have one, Nick here.
Hi, Nick.
What are some of the steps you took to become an agent, and how do you recruit your clients?
Both interesting questions. Thank you very much. When I first started in the business, I grew up in the business. I started working on movies, and I worked on a number of films for about 4 or 5 years. And I learned the nuts and bolts of filmmaking, as a production assistant, and worked my way up the ladder. I worked on, a movie called Bachelor Party. I was Jim Cameron's assistant on Terminator. I worked on a movie called War Games. This is all stuff back in the 80s, way before you guys were even around. But some of the movies you may be familiar with. Bachelor Party actually was Tom Hanks and Tawny Kitaen. A little trivia about that movie. That movie did not originally star Tom Hanks and Tawny Kitaen. We shot for a week, and the studio decided that the original cast members did not have chemistry and weren't funny, so we had to shut down, and we recast, and we were fortunate enough to get Tom and Tawny. The original cast was Paul Reiser and Kelly McGillis. That at the end of that, like 4 or 5 years, my mentor was a guy named Joe Roth, who is a very well-known producer. He was a studio head, and he basically sat me down and said, it's time to flee the nest and figure out what you want to do, because I worked for him on 2 projects, and at that point he was actually partnered. He was a longtime client of my father's and was also partners with my father. But I went to CAA, and I got into the training program at CAA in '85, and I was there for 3 years, from '85 to '88. Sorry, this is a much longer answer than what you probably bargained for, but
no, this is awesome. I love to hear this, so thank you.
Okay. At the beginning of 1988, there was a convergence of things happening in the business at CAA. One was CAA had grown to capacity and was not going to promote anybody. They just started building a building in Beverly Hills. And there was also what was going to be a very, very big, long, and difficult strike with the Writers Guild that was going to take place. And they had an idea that it was going to be pretty pretty difficult. So they basically said to everybody that was in my mailroom class, we're not promoting anybody. You can hang in here and work and stay here. We're not going to fire anybody, but we're not promoting anybody. And at that point, after 3 years, I was like, I'm not a corporate guy. This is not the right place for me. I learned a lot, but it's time for me to, go find, do something else. So I left there. I produced a play here in Los Angeles during the strike. And then at the end of that, I went to work in development, and I went as development executive for a couple companies. And then I found my way into the agency business at a time where I'd been removed from the agency business for quite a while. I had not ever been an agent. I had no clients, but I was fortunate enough to be hired by a very small company that basically said, we'll give you a desk and a phone, and the rest you got to figure out on your own. I was like, all right. So that's what I did. I went to work, and I just started, I knew a lot of people, and I just started cobbling together a list of young talent. And over time, those people started to, develop and start to generate income. And then I took that business, that company basically had a huge financial issues and had to let go a bunch of people. And since I was one of the last ones in, I was one of the first ones out. After that, I went to another company that was another small boutique agency, and I was one of 3 kids that was there. I was in my late 20s probably at that time. It was a pretty dysfunctional place. The owners were a little bit messed up. Each one had their own sort of, issues. And they went out of business. So I then started my own business. I looked around at a time in the agency business where a lot of companies were either going out of business or merging, and there was a lot of young agents out in the marketplace looking for work, unfortunately, much like now. And I knew that I was not going to get hired. So I just said, screw it, I'll just start my own business. And that's what I did. I partnered with somebody. And then like a year or so later, we brought in 2 other partners, and we ran that company for, I ran the company for 5 years, and then I left. And then I went to Buckwald, and I was at Buckwald for 5 years. And just over the years, it was just hustle and meeting people, knowing people, having relationships with entertainment attorneys and managers, and my clients would refer friends of theirs to me, and that's pretty much how I built my my client list over the years. This business is all about social. I mean, I have no idea how it's going to be going forward from this point, being that, people have to do this. And that's just it's a whole nother level of difficulty, because so much of the entertainment business is about face-to-face and lunch and all that stuff. So I must say that I'm happy that I am where I am at this point, being my own boss and having my own company. Obviously, it brings about a tremendous amount of challenges, but at the end of the day, I know that I'm not going to get fired. And if I do, I have much bigger problems. So did that answer your questions?
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else you want to ask that that brought up other additional questions?
I guess with that, what are some challenges of managing your own business during coronavirus, and kind of how have you adapted as things have progressed along so you can still get work done and be effective?
To be brutally honest, March, whatever it was, my entire business collapsed. Every single one of my clients who was working or going to be working, all were out of work. And if my clients don't work, I don't generate income. It's just that simple. And with not having, being an employee of a company, I didn't have a salary. So it was very challenging over these last number of months. And uh, thankfully, I've got really, really good loyal clients, and that also are highly in demand. And as soon as things started to open up, a lot of those people have either gone back to work or going back to work very soon. So, it was very difficult navigating through March through, July, August. But thankfully, there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. But at the end of the day, I also know that so much of what the future holds is completely out of my control. If something happens, like, I don't know if you guys keep up on what's going on in the entertainment world, but there's a show called For Life that's on ABC, and they were going back into production, and they were, I think, like the first show to go back into production, and they had a bunch of positive testing, and they had to shut down. So that's affected them in a way where they had to delay their schedule by 2 weeks. And they also found out that a lot of those tests were false positives, which made it even more frustrating for them. But it's a situation where I have no idea what's going to happen in a week from now or a month from now. I mean, if this continues to rage throughout the country and it can't be contained, we could very well see a work stoppage again. And that's one of the most difficult things about all this is, there's just no planning at this point. You can guess, you can have somewhat of an educated guess, but I mean, so much of this is out of everybody's control. So thankfully, the other business was active, and that gave me something to do every day other than sit home and think about what wasn't happening. As long as we had enough hockey sticks, which at the time we did, and our big account basically said, hey, we know what everybody's up against, and we want to just let you know that we're here for you, and we're going to, here's a PO, and you just fill this PO as much as you can when you can. And that really was a huge help in getting through that period for us.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody
Hi,
else?
John. Kyle here.
Hey, Kyle. How are you?
Thank you for being with us today. I had a kind of a follow-up question with the agency topic. For someone wanting to pursue agency down the road, I want to do it in the sports realm, but would you recommend doing the large agency route first before trying to start your own job, or how would you recommend going about that?
You're thinking of starting your own agency just right off the bat?
I've thought about it back and forth, but
takes a lot of gumption, I'll tell you that. Good for you
yes.
thinking about that. Look, like I said, it's like, there's an upside and a downside to being your own boss. I don't know the sports agent business that well. I know it a little bit because I am friends with some people that are agents in the business. I'm pretty sure that it's the same thing, though. It's really about relationships. So if you have people that are loyal to you and that you can go to and say, hey, I'm starting a business and I want you to be my client, and they say yes, and they're significant enough that they can generate income for you and help you build a business, and loyal, because that's a huge issue. I mean, one of the reasons I left the agency world to become a manager was I was an agent at a smaller mid-sized company, and invariably when my clients started to succeed, the big agencies were going to come along and try and swoop them up, and I just couldn't continue to fight that fight every year. And I saw down the road, I was like, I can't continue to reinvent my client list, as a 50-year-old, as a 60-year-old. I was like, that's not sustainable. And it's not something I wish to do. So that's why I became a manager, because I thought, all right, well, I then can share my clients with agencies and have more of a working relationship and more of protection. So, I mean, look, I'm an entrepreneur. I mean, you know, I love the upsides of it. I love working with people that I want to work with, and excuse the expression, but I have a very, very strict no asshole policy. I do not want to work with them. I don't want to represent them. It's like life is too short. And if you're working for somebody, you may not have that option. So you have to sort of prioritize, you know, what it is that matters most to you. And again, it really is going to come back to, you need to make a living. And if you can find the clients that are going to help you do that, then that's not a bad thing to do. I mean, you will learn a lot from being in a big agent, you know, big company, that's for sure. And, you know, one of the things that you will gain from that you wouldn't gain so much from being your own person or own company would be just the camaraderie and being able to bounce ideas off people. And as I hire people coming out of school, I'm a one-man shop. And, you know, I'm very reluctant to hire people that are just coming out of school and this is their first job, because I don't think this is the best job for them. And I'm looking, you know, I'm currently just hired a new assistant in the last week or so. And there were a bunch of kids that came to me and wanted the job. And I was like, you know what? I can't hire you as your first job out of school because it's not going to be beneficial to you. There's not enough activity going on. And one of the most important things is having peers that you can connect with and build. And that was one of the great things about the training program at CAA, is that, yeah, it was difficult, but you were all in it together and you built lifelong friendships. I mean, I'm still friends with people that I was in the mailroom with in 1985. You know, I mean, we don't see each other often, but I know that if I need some information or I whatever, I can count on them. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
What do you want to do? You can do it on your own?
Yeah, I fortunately enough, I played baseball in my undergrad, so several of my friends have gone to the draft, and I have a couple friends, I mean, through the area and grown up through everything. They're a couple in the league right now. So with the coaches that I've met, and they have specifically my last coach, he was in the White Sox program, and he's got a good friend that is in one of the partners of Frontline Agency. So I've gotten some good tips and here and there. So
I mean, you cast a wide net, you know, and see what feels best. You know, if there's a job out there that's, you know, too good for you to pass up, you know, you got to give that some weight. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you feel like, you know, you've got that one star or more than one star, then yeah, I see no reason why you can't go it alone. Anything else?
If anyone has a question, you can just unmute yourself and ask. If not, I've got a few questions to start. I know when we had talked on the phone, I had said to maybe think of how your interactions with lawyers have been throughout the various aspects of your business, whether it's with Requipped, with the movies that you're producing as an agent, any of those. Do you have any advice for us as law students once we do get into the legal field, basically just how to interact with people throughout those various job placements and whatnot? Does that question, it's kind of broad, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand it. I mean, I can tell you that, you know, my experience with lawyers is that in certain areas, they definitely add value on the entertainment side. You know, if you have a client that's going to go do a movie, or a client that's going to sell something that they've got some sort of ownership stake in, or a director that's going to be directing a pilot for a show, having a lawyer involved is really, really important, and they add value. If you're talking about like a day-to-day, like a lot of my clients work freelance episodic television, they don't need lawyers because those deals are cut and dried, and it is what it is. So there's not really anything a lawyer can do that's going to add to it. I would say, again, it's small versus big. You can be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond. And a lot of that really just comes down to, what fits best for you personally. I have clients with a bunch of lawyers, and I have a lot of my clients don't have lawyers at this point because they just don't really need them. And a lot of the agencies have in-house business affairs people that, for minor stuff, they're there to, to look over. As far as, getting into the business, it's so much of it is relationship based. Finding that network of people, alums that you can find, and having them, meet with them and lend their support and stuff. I mean, that obviously is a big way in. Once you get that job, it's also about the social aspect. Just like, I've been given clients from lawyers, I've also given lawyers clients. So you want to make sure that you meet people that are agents and managers that are in a position to give you business, because that's a lot of where your business is going to come from. Yeah, sure. You may walk into a firm that has existing clients and you may be a junior lawyer on some account, but ultimately you want to build your own business with your own people. And the best way to do that is by establishing relationships with young managers and agents in town. On the sports side, that's a different animal. I really haven't done a whole lot of sports law. I mean, we've had some contract stuff that we've done with licensing and stuff like that with CCM. One of my partners is a lawyer, and he basically serves as, our in-house guy, sort of guide us through the process if we need it, but it's been very limited. We don't have a licensing deal with the NHL. We don't need one. We've had lengthy conversations with them about it. And because we do what we do, working with the clubs directly, it enables us to circumvent that because we're not selling NHL licensed products. We're selling them back to the clubs, and then the clubs are selling them. So that's how we've been able to get around that.
Anyone else want to hop on, or should I ask another question? All right, I guess it's me. Kind of a follow-up to that. Do you have any hardline, don't do this as a lawyer in the entertainment world? Like, have you had any just crazy experiences that you're like, oh, if I could give one piece of advice to the new lawyers that are entering this industry soon, don't do this?
Nothing that comes to mind, but as you were asking that question, I did think of a crazy story that I'll share with you. This goes back many years now. There was a lawyer that I was working with a client of ours, and this was a young writer who was really just getting his start in the business. And he came to us and said, hey, there's a guy that I met that wants to pay me to write a project for him. And we're like, all right, immediately the red flag went up. It's like, who is this person? And we couldn't find anything out about the person. There's no noticeable credits or anything that we could connect to him. Anyway, we made the deal, and the writer went off and he wrote this script, and he delivered the script to the producer, and you pay for the work, whether you like it or not, you pay for it. Well, this producer, and I use that term loosely, said to us, he said, I don't like the script, I'm not paying for it. And both the lawyer and I just were apoplectic. Like, you can't do that. First of all, this is a kid that, it's like he was relying on, it was not a lot of money. and it's just not acceptable. This is horrible, you know, horrible business, you know, and, you know, we got a little hot with him. And there was silence for, you know, I don't know, it felt probably a week or so. And one morning I got up and I went out and got the paper, and I looked at the front page of the LA Times, and there was this man's name and picture on the front page of the LA Times, that he had been arrested for a variety of things, including hit for hire and extortion. And it turned out he was mob. And we had no idea. It was like, we just threatened a mob guy. So I would say, be very careful about what you say and to whom you say it. Thankfully, here I am to tell the story, and I'm not, you know, human fertilizer somewhere. But yes, sorry, that wasn't really the answer to your question, but.
That was better. Okay, so don't threaten mobsters. Good to know.
Very shocking. I got to tell you, we were a little bit nervous.
Yeah, understandable. I'm just going to keep asking questions if other people don't jump in. So what's been your favorite project to work on?
That's a tough one. I mean, you know, as a producer, I've only been involved with one project, and that was the remake of Secret in Their Eyes. And it was exciting. It was fun. I did it with a very good friend of mine who was the writer and director of it, which was great. Unfortunately, there was a lot of challenges with that project, and ultimately, it did not succeed. It actually kind of failed, by nothing that I did, but there was a number of things that we looked at in retrospect, and we realized that, you know, one of the biggest problems was that the original film was so good and so well known that all the critics that knew the movie, and that was pretty much every one of them, compared the two, and it was like, oh, you know, they're two different movies, but they were not kind. So that was part of it. The other thing that was a real issue, and at the time, it was pointed out to me by at the time was my 15 or 16-year-old daughter. When she heard that the release date was moved from October to the Friday before Thanksgiving, she spat it off and said, "That's a stupid idea." And I said, "Why do you think that?" And she said, "Well, I know enough about it." She hadn't seen the movie, but she's like, "I know what the movie is, and this is not a family movie. And if you're trying to cater to people at Thanksgiving, kids are going to want to go see kids' movies, or they're going to want to go see family movies, and this is neither." And boy, was she right. Anyway, so it was a fun experience. I made one really, really good friend that came out. It was one of the producers with me on it, and we actually went out and optioned a book together. And that project is a passion project of mine. I've been working on it for years, and it's one of those things that, you know, I will continue to try and figure out a way to get it made, but it may never get made. You know, it's just a difficult. It's not a slam dunk. It's not a big movie. You know, it probably should be shot for a couple $1 million. We've got a director who happens to be a client of mine. We attached her recently to it, and we're trying to get a writer. In fact, she actually has a meeting today with the writer that we're interested in to adapt it. So hopefully, you know, we'll have some forward progress there. But you know, I mean, there are a lot of really, really good people in this business, and there's just those that aren't. And, you know, experience, you know, guides you, and, you know who to stay away from, and who you really want to be in business with. And, you know, the projects that I most love are really the ones that are really, really difficult to get made. So we could be having this conversation in 10 years from now, and it may not be any different. I see
Right.
people up there, they're just not. Have I frightened you, or have I put you to sleep?
Hi, Cassie. Hi, guys. This is
Go
Connor.
ahead.
There we go. Oh,
I've been waiting in the wings.
I was wondering who you were because you popped up on my LinkedIn today. Good for you to check me out.
Yeah, I was having an old look. Hope you don't mind.
Not at all. Was there information there that you found of value?
A little bit, actually. It kind of segues nicely off your last point. Sorry, I don't have a video on, guys. It's the internet's not great here in Madrid.
Oh,
But-
nice for you.
Yeah, yeah. But John, this is a bit of a strange one, but I have a friend here in Madrid. She's a writer director, and she currently has a show on HBO España. It just launched about 2 months ago, and it's gone quite well for her, to the point where they want to launch it on HBO USA around Christmas time. She is now due to meet with CAA, she told me. And I just thought maybe I'd just say to you, do you have any advice I might give to her, what to look out for, or any potential pitfalls and stuff like that?
I mean, I'd be curious to know who over there is interested in her. I'd see if somebody that I may know or may not know. It doesn't. I mean, if I don't know them, it doesn't really. That doesn't say much because there's a lot of people over there.
Sure.
Look, CAA is an amazing company. When I was there from 85 to 88, it was a very, very young company. I mean, we were on one floor in a building, and it was very, very different. And it grew and grew and grew. The upside to being at CAA is that they do have tremendous power. They know a lot of people, and they have the ability to package things, or that's a dirty word now, but they have the ability to pull projects together, and they have the client list that can really help put things over the top. Typical of a big agency, they all are very attracted by the bright, shiny new object. And if that bright, shiny new object doesn't generate something pretty soon, they're going to be on to something else. That's just typical of CAA. That's why, and I don't mean to, to toot my own horn, but that's why good managers can really be very helpful in helping navigate through that process and making sure that that client is with the right person and they're meaningful and will continue to work for that person. If this is a project that that HBO is looking to do here, I'm sure that CAA is very interested just based on that, and I'm sure that they're thinking about other ways that they can exploit this material. Tell me again, is your friend a writer and/or director, or?
Manuela Burlo Moreno is her name. Yeah, she's written and directed the series. So it's just launched here on HBO España. It was like one of the main initial launches for HBO España. It's kind of a new venture they have here, and it's gone quite well.
And is she represented at all?
I'm honestly not totally sure. Funnily enough, I started off as her English teacher, and then it kind of merged into a sort of I was an intermediary between HBO and herself, because HBO are based out of London and her English wouldn't be fantastic. So I was kind of acting as her translator almost. So I'm not sure, is she actually represented?
Got it. Well, I mean, the fact that they're interested does speak volumes, because they don't really get involved unless they think that there's a way that they can make money. So they must see that there's some potential there.
Okay, that's interesting. Thanks so much.
Sure. Happy to, if there's anything I can do, please let me know. I mean, I'm curious to know who's pursuing her. And if she feels that she wants to have, another, if there's other people that she'd like to look at before she makes a decision, I certainly can offer up some help if I can.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, certainly. I'll meet her next week. I'll run it by her.
You can let her know that I represent Juan Campanella, who I'm imagining that she would probably know of, because he's a fairly well-known Argentine. He's the one who was nominated for 2 Oscars, and he's done a lot of work in Spain. So I would imagine that she would know of him.
I'll make use of the LinkedIn again.
There you go.
Thanks, John.
Of course. Enjoy Madrid. Go get some Iberico.
All over it. Don't worry.
God. All right. Anything else?
I'm going to wait a minute to see if anyone else hops on to ask a question. No? Okay. I was actually interested in talking a little bit more about Requipped.
Yes.
So I know you gave the little background about why you wanted to start it and how that happened, but if you could talk a little bit more about the logistics of everything, like how it actually works, how the company works with getting the sticks, and like really the details about everything. I just think it's so interesting.
Thank you. This business has been a lot of fun for a lot of reasons for me. I mean, I love hockey. I'm incredibly passionate about the sport. I play the sport. I run a men's league here. I've done so many hockey things related. I ran my son's travel team when he was playing here. I was on the board of the youth hockey team, actually way beyond when he left and went back to Pomfret. I have friends in the hockey world, and when this product came, it was like, I think there's a really cool business here. And knowing how many hockey sticks are broken every year, which is each NHL team goes through 1,000 sticks a season, so that'll give you a rough idea. But I mean, it goes way beyond that, and all these things are, for the most part, going to end up in a landfill. So that's not good. And they're carbon fiber material; they'll never break down. We just sort of dove into it, and we had there's a hockey chain called Hockey Monkey, which has stores around the U.S. and one in Canada and one in Sweden. I knew some of the guys. My kid actually worked there for a while, and I called them up and I said, "Hey, we've got an idea for a product. Come talk to you." And we went, we pitched, and we brought them a sample, and they were like, "Yeah, when can you get us these?" And we walked out. And we went, "Oh shit! Now what do we do?" And so I called my friend Luc Robitaille. And Luc Robitaille is a NHL Hall of Famer, played for the LA Kings, and is now the president of the LA Kings. And I went and I met with Luc, this was in 2012, right before the Stanley Cup Finals, before the Kings were playing New Jersey. And I brought Luc a sample, and he's like, "This is great." He's like, "I want one of these, I'm going to get you a stick, and I want you to make this and get it in. We're going to get it in. We're going to blast it all over the Jumbotron. We're going to auction it live in the building during the game." And I'm like, "All right, fine." I was like, "All right, fine. Maybe he's just joking around with me." But so we got the stick, we cut it up, we sent it back. And I actually had friends that were in the building that called me and said, "Is this you?" And I was like, "Yes." And then Luke called me the next day and he said, "Somebody paid $500 for that set of barbecue tools." He said, "That's crazy." And I was like, "You're telling me?" He's like, "Well," he's like, "you got a real business here and I'm going to help you." And so he said, "First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to the equipment manager for the Detroit Red Wings, because he is the guy who's going to help really open the doors to all the other clubs in the league." And I was introduced to Paul Boyer, who's been the guy for Detroit for a really, really long time. And he was there in Detroit when Luke won the cup with the Red Wings. And Paul came to LA and we had dinner and we told him about, the plan. And he said, "This is great. The equipment managers have it's not a union, but it's an association," which I didn't even know that existed. And every year they have a conference. And the conference is all the equipment managers from the NHL all the way down to major junior teams in Canada, Division I teams, and they have all of the equipment manufacturers and the medical, so they work with the trainers as well. So there's a whole medical component of it. There's hundreds of people that converge for a week. And all they talk about is all things new hockey. So I'm going to put you up in front of a room of a couple hundred equipment managers, and I guarantee you, when you tell them what you're going to do, they're going to be on board. And that's exactly what happened. And that's how we started this company in 2000, 2012, 2000. Yeah, I mean, that was sort of the beginning of it. And then there's a lot of challenges. I mean, there's one of our biggest challenges is not having enough sticks. So we work with a lot of clubs, but there's a lot of clubs that will sell their sticks to these refurb companies that will take a broken stick and they'll fuse it back together, and then they can sell it for a much lower price than buying a new one, but they never feel the same, but they can offer more money. And so that's one of our biggest competitors in the broken stick world. So I noticed that, and I did some research, and I went back to the stick manufacturing companies, and I told them, I said, these guys got to be cutting into your retail business. That can't be good for you. So we've been working on a plan right now where the stick manufacturing companies will offer some sort of rebate incentive to the clubs to get us the broken sticks. And then in turn, we will make a donation to the American Special Hockey Association. So it's going to be a win-win in theory. All of this was in place going into the spring in February, where I had a meeting with NHL Green and Waterkeeper Alliance, and we had the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers all on board to do some big event. And then COVID hit, and the whole thing was, put on hold. So the other thing about this business that really challenged me is that I don't know anything about manufacturing. It is complete. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. We were making the stuff in my partner's garage on weekends to try and keep up. It was insane, and we just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And then we perfected our way of making these products, and finally got to the point where we moved into a space, we hired some people, and we really built the business. And we have real big support from the stick manufacturing companies and the clubs, and we have an office in Canada. We've really expanded, but there's still a lot of challenges. Just because we have to get components, the barbecue components that we get from China, which I really would prefer not to do for a number of reasons, but we can't get them here for the price that we need them for. We've looked into mass producing the product, and we have the infrastructure to do that. But the problem is, there was a guy that we were going to partner with in Canada who had a lot of money and was very interested in the product, and had deep relationships with Costco and Canadian Tire and some of the other big box stores up in Canada. And he went and he put his own money into developing a knockoff version of our product, where all we were going to do is just take a piece of the sale. We wouldn't have to touch it. Like, that's a beautiful scenario. Thank you. Where do I sign that for that? So he went out and he put his money in, developed his product, took it to all the buyers up there, and it was met with, well, yeah, we're not going to do that. And their biggest reason was that with the barbecue tools, there's such a short window of barbecue season in Canada that they weren't going to take an existing product off the shelf and replace it with something that may or may not work. And then he tried a couple other different products made with the same sort of business model. And he just came back to us and look, this is the infrastructure is there to do this. If you guys can figure out a way to take it and run with it, I'm happy to support it, but I need to get paid at some point. So that still is sort of hanging out there. One of our biggest issues also is we are still hand making our products. we haven't figured out a way yet how to really produce our version of it in a way that we can crank out a lot of it at a time. And that's something that we're trying to do right now. There's another organization in Canada that I had a conversation with last week that seems to have the infrastructure and the interest. So we're hoping that may work, but we'll see. When we had somebody come to us and say, hey, can you do, 25,000 units of something? And I was like, no. A lot of people don't understand either. They think, well, we just have them on the shelf and we just put them in a box and send them. It's like, nah, it doesn't really work that way. So did that answer the question? I sort of went off on a tangent, I think, but if I didn't answer it fully, please let me know.
No, that was good. I find it so interesting. I wanted to hear more about it. So that was great.
The whole NHL green thing for me it's been really a lot of fun, and it's been really exciting. And they actually pursued us because they found out about the products, and they came to us initially and said that, they wanted us to build this big 7-foot by 7-foot wall that was going to serve as a backdrop made out of broken sticks and plexi and steel. And we did, and it was used first at the Heritage Classic, the first Heritage Classic game, which was an outdoor game in, I think it was Vancouver, but I could be wrong. But they used it as a repurpose the game where people could bring their gently used gear, put it in a green net, and that gear then was going to be taken out and was going to be sanitized and then redistributed to the community, where people who didn't have the financial wherewithal to play would be given, a little bit of a boost with some gear. And then Florida Gulf Coast University started this oyster reef program where they started building these oyster reefs out of broken sticks. And NHL Green and I, we all connected, and it was fascinating. I mean, I took marine biology in junior high school and I loved it, but I never thought that at this point in my life, it would come back in this way. So I've been talking to all these marine scientists and aquaculturists and oyster farmers and trying to figure out, how this can work. I mean, the one thing oysters filter water at such an unbelievable rate. It's crazy. And these things, when they put these things in the water, they put them under docks, and they grow, they promote life, and they serve as an amazing thing for the environment. There was actually a post that I saw on Instagram, I think 2 days ago, from one of the nonprofits that we work with, that this person had a bunch of these units deployed under their dock. The picture was of the dock, but there was no dock. The dock was completely obliterated by Sally, but the marine habitats were still intact, which was astounding. Anyway.
That's awesome. I love repurposing stuff, so that's great. We've got about 2 more minutes left, so if anyone has one more quick question. Doesn't look like it. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I know I really enjoyed this, and I'm sure everyone else here can agree.
Definitely.
Yes, thank you, John.
You're very welcome. Thank
you very much for meeting with us today.
Let me know if I can be of any help with anything. You've got my information. Reach out. However, connect with me on LinkedIn if you want. I'm happy to be, a sounding board in any way that I can be. So it's an open door, and use it if you need to or if you like. And I wish you all well in this crazy time, and as you progress in your careers.
Thank you. Stay safe out there. Stay safe from the fires and the COVID.
Thank you very much. You guys as well.
Thank you. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, John.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Cass.
Bye, John. Thank you.